In the muted monochrome of a black and white snapshot, smuggled from the ether of a fan's illicit zoom lens on December 2, 2025, 7 figures sprawled across a vast studio floor like constellations realigned after cosmic drift, legs akimbo, shoulders brushing in easy kinship, paper cups of iced Americano sweating rings onto the polished oak expanse. At the frame's heart, Kim Taehyung lounged against a mirrored wall, one knee drawn up as if cradling a secret chord, his fingers splayed mid-gesture toward an invisible fretboard, while across from him, Jungkook captured the tableau with a compact camera, its shutter click frozen in perpetual echo. Laughter etched faint creases around eyes ringed with the subtle bruise of reclaimed exertion, the room's perimeter lined with freestanding mirrors that splintered their forms into infinite rehearsals, a basketball hoop dangling inert like a punctuation mark in the upper gloom. The image, time-stamped from a dusk session 2 days prior, rippled through private Discord realms before dawn's first light pierced Seoul's Yongsan haze. BTS, not in solitary silos but in symphonic sprawl, their bodies a living score for the resurrection humming just beyond the hiatus's horizon. What the Candid failed to frame in its hurried harvest from a delivery biker's paused scroll was the undercurrent in their postures, the coiled readiness beneath the repose, a septet rethreading the fragile filament of unity after time's inexorable splice. The conscription edict had fallen like an untimely equinox, fracturing the ensemble's inexhaustible engine in staggered salvos. J-Hope's release in the amber haze of October 2024 marking a hesitant dawn, Suga's sideline stewardship through the vernal stutter of injuries, and Jin's solo odyssey reverberating in arenas that brimmed with borrowed echoes of the whole. Taehyung's immersion, that ironclad ingress in December 2023, had unfolded as a veiled vesper, parting salvos on Wevers threaded with nocturnal jazz vignettes and snapshots of barracks veiled in hoarfrost, his baritone timbre distilled to pilfered audio dispatches ferried to devotees like smuggled sacraments. Service was no erasure but chrysalis, an imposed interregnum where the performer's ceaseless carousel stalled in stasis, cogs chafing against the grind of regimentation. Bugle blasts shattering sleep, munitions outweighing melodies, bonds hammered in mire over measures. Still, in pilfered respites, Taehyung amassed relics, doodles of melodic scaffolds on mess hall placemats, melismatic flourishes murmured into the hiss of communal receivers, schematics for the structure he foresaw at egress. No rote revival but radical renewal, a collective unshackled from the husk of adolescence, into late November 2025. The atmosphere within HYB's serpentine sprawl thrummed with the fairest bite of expectancy, hallways flanked by insulated havens where sound engineers bent over digital forges like sorcerers transmuting vapor. Taehyung reintegrated by degrees, his demobilization a murmur in October's waning, physique refined by discipline into a keener edge, tendons incised like rhythmic incisions on parchment. The octet, septet, reassembled in shards, Namjoon's transatlantic inflections grating against Yoongi's terse motifs, Hoseok's dynamic schematics meshing with Jungkook's unyielding iterations. Yet their convergence crested in candid clusters, not cloistered cubicles. A ground floor expanse on the complex's eastern wing, its vaulted ceiling strung with adjustable rigs and a lone hoop evoking playground origins, walls sheathed in reflective panels that turned every glance into genealogy. There, amidst the flotsam of postponed pursuits, drum kits shrouded in sheeting, a cluster of thermoses cooling beside dog-eared prompt books, they initiated the unearthing, physiques priming, timbers attuning, the intangible fusion of fraternity, the gathering that spawned the pilfered portrait ignited at eventide on November 30th, the solstice sun seeping scarlet through slatted blinds, elongating silhouettes into spectral duet. Taehyung entered unburdened by outer layers, exhalation misting the hallway's draft, a satchel hooked over his arm laden with elastics and inscribed partitions. The chamber was Spartan, an acoustic vault where mirrors proliferated their presences into perpetuity, duplicates fracturing over dampened foreheads, every rotation a lens refracting the youth who'd buskied blues in Taegu cellars against the sage who'd mortgaged his prime for planetary parable. They commenced with the core, limbering rites that swelled from indolent torsions to explosive extensions, fibers rebelling against revival like dormant lyres rest-wrung. Conscription had chiseled them variably leaner, the plush reverie of layovers meditative drift bartered for resilience's rigor. Now they ventured bolder, folding into groundwork that summoned the sinuous coils of black swan. pelvises scripting ellipses that dissolve the divide between mastery and yielding friction gathered in the crevices, an infrasonic drone below the pulse of a click track pulsing like a heartbeat on hold. The movement lexicon, Hosiok's tentative tracery for the linchpin composition, a chimeric force fusing traps serrated throb with symphonic surges, exacted not mimicry but manifestation, gestures archiving the ensemble's voyage, every motion a verse in the saga of rift and reconciliation. Taehyung parsed segments under the glass's unsparing scrutiny, reiterating a passage where limbs extended like raptor spans merely to fold into a squat, joints grazing the resilient planking with a resonance that echoed through his essence. Skepticism glinted at the peripheries unsolicited, the spectral twinge of circuits severed, the resonance of vacant coliseums amid his interlude, the insistent inquest of if the sorcery that once conjured seven into oneness might endure chronology's corrosion. They parried it through ceremony, halting to jot annotations in shared ledgers, sketches of chimeric beings part mortal, part staff, their contours a code for the multiplicity they personified. Balladeer in a battler's chassis, trooper in a trooper's guise. Time hemorrhaged upward, the pain's panorama fading from gloaming's contusion to the alkali glow of nocturnal metropolis, spans curving like synaptic trails above the waterway's ebon current. A hydration interlude morphed into tonal delving, arpeggios climbing from husky depths to ethereal arabesques, his resonance interlacing the enclosure's plush quietude like vapor-veiling filigree. The emergent repertoire, hinted in Wever's shards as a span from suspension to skyline, tilted toward contemplation, stanzas wrestling with self's pliancy, refrains bursting in multipartite resistance. Taehyung superimposed overtones atop a nascent bed, his improvisation splintering into bebop-tinged babble that eroded frontiers between drill and daydream, form oscillating as though marshalling a spectral ensemble of identities. The Taegu visionary, the enlistee sentinel, the worldwide pole star. Fatigue crept circuitously, a tremor in the thighs amid a protracted poise, the subtle brine prick of moisture veiling sight, but they alchemized it, funneling the blaze into momentum, every errancy a framework for acuity. The seizure arrived unforeseen, a fortuitous filch in the cyber thickets. Beneath the enclosure's vantage, in Yongsan's maze of rear passages where victual vendors vented vapor into the rhyme, a courier on hiatus, pursuing sidelight for a pop chronicle, angled his device aloft instinctively, its eye ensnaring the vignette via a rift in the drapes. The image, unrefined and unaltered, landed on X at 2 a.m. A static symphony of unbridled fervor, the septet's tableau a staccato verse against the gloss, subtitled BTS's Floor Cipher Return Riddles? #BTS 2026. It metastasized like synaptic blaze, army's dominion flaring in harmonious heat. Montages aligning the shot to inner child's crescendo, conjectures parsing the limb dispositions for routine revelations, planetary chronologies logging the vigils from Manila's deluge-soaked streams to LA's frond-bordered verandas. The incursion was personal, an affront shrouded in reverence, unveiling not frailty but famine, the appetite that had stewed in seclusion, now proclaimed as feroz. Revelation broke in the repercussions, a leisurely blooming as the image's contagion elicited admissions from the collective. Namjoon's pre-dawn Weverse bulletin trailed at 4 a.m., a pixelated self-portrait from his nook. Drills evoke reclaiming poise. Tae spearheading the surge, remain vigilant. Jungkook's Instagram fleeting frame, a looping snippet of pedalwork practices, cycled with the marker #7shadows, conjuring the plurality of their reassembly. For Taehyung, tending an ice pack to his hamstring in the afterlight's pallor, the unveiling was bifacial. A surge of duty, the globe's scrutiny as catalyst to his inward anvil, yet a salve for the seclusion of origin. He had ever cast Genesis as fellowship, even in service's seclusion, tonal telegrams relayed like epistles from the vanguard, but this penetration solidified it, the haven's holiness perforated, alchemizing intimate labor into communal relic, the zeal not pageant but right, the vibration extended, a Mandelbrot charting the topography of shared yearning. In supporter salons from Tokyo's lumen-laced labyrinths to Bogotá's mural-marred meadows, the image emerged as guide. Vivisections not of postures but psyches, filaments interlacing individual itineraries into the octet's vast vault. The adherent who'd mothballed aspirations amid BTS's suspension, now rekindled by their resolve. It spotlighted the subtexts of K-pop's arena, where performers' toils were monetized into media. Yet in such seepages resided emancipation, anthropomorphizing the apparatus, underscoring that beyond the legend throbbed tissue and tenacity. Enterprises orbited likewise, paradise city streams recycling the zeal for retreat into resolved tableaus, but the genuine tender was purgation, the mutual ecstasy of beholding renewal not as revival but refinement. 7 strands restringing the weaver's framed Hesse. December solstice neared. Taehyung stepped from the enclosure into a morning laced with thermal inversions, the ether tart as unscribed score. The ensemble united that vesper in a nest of contiguous chambers, mirth shattering the lintel as Hoseok illustrated a swivel with theatrical sweep, Youngie plucking a motif that melted into shared drone. Taehyung merged into the melee, his prior seclusion now buttress for blend, physique harmonizing to the nascent cadence like a bolt slotting into antique hasps. The image, enshrined in shared reminiscence, posed as overture. Not violation but summons, a peek into the smithy where luminaries were recast. In the lull antecedent to the ensuing bar, he halted at the casement, the metropolis beneath a galaxy of expectant gazes, and respired, not depletion but jubilation. Return was no endpoint but vector, an eternal evolving inscribed in moisture and murk, where a band's eventide endeavors evoked the aurora for legions. As the first flakes of December's tentative snowfall dusted the Han's undulating surface like errant notes on a blank staff, Taehyung descended from his rooftop vigil into the labyrinth of his high rise. The elevators hum a subdued requiem for the night's unspooling. The apartment, a minimalist area of exposed brick and floor-to-ceiling vistas, greeted him with the soft glow of a single lamp, left on by habit, a sentinel against the voids that enlistment had taught him to navigate. He shed his jacket, the fabric whispering against the doorframe, and sank onto the edge of a low-slung sofa, the leather creaking in sympathy with his frame. His phone lay dormant, its screen a dark mirror reflecting the faint constellation of freckles across his nose. He resisted summoning the feeds, knowing their fervor would wait, patient as the solstice's slow wheel. Instead, he reached for the notebook, pages warped from hasty grips, margins alive with hybrid doodles, beasts with treble clefs for horns, wings etched in eighth-note fractals, symbols for the septet's unspoken evolution. Sleep came in fits, fragmented by dreams blurring rehearsals' rigor with barracks banalities, mirrors morphing into mess hall bunks, Hoseok's vectors dissolving into rifle drills, the basketball hoop swinging like a noose in windless night. Dawn cracked the skyline at 5:47 a.m. A sliver of rose gold slicing through the blinds, rousing him to revival, black coffee gurgling like a distant bass line in the French press, stretches uncoiling overnight knots in his hamstrings, vocal warm-ups hummed into shower steam, scales ascending like smoke signals. By 7 a.m. he rode the subway's sway, a metronome sinking breath to the city's pulse, commuters blind to armies' imagined cheers trailing his thoughts. HY loomed as a monolith of glass and resolve, lobby hushed with security nods, elevators chiming like unanswered questions. The morning assembled piecemeal, the ground floor expanse humming, technicians tweaking rigs, mirrors gleaming accusatory. Jimin arrived first, tray of matcha lattes fogged like the photo's paper rings. He bowed theatrically, quipping, "Fuel for the fractured, extra shot for the dreamer." Taehyung saluted mockingly, warmth chasing fingertip chill, and they orbited easily. Jimin flicking a wrist from last night's pivot, Taehyung countering with jazz hands that devolved to snickers, acoustics amplifying alchemy. Youngie trickled in, hood low over tousled hair, thermos clutched like contraband. By the speaker stack, he cued Taehyung's bridge cut, its velvet rasp filling space like incense, drawing nods to BY 8:30. The septet coalesced, Namjoon with bulging satchel of scores, glasses fogging in steam, Jungkook shadowboxing pillars, earbuds dangling, Jean sauntering with mandu bag, portioning with precision. Eat or mirrors eat you. Hoseok unfurled the whiteboard, a palimpsest of arrows, phases, eclipse, emergence, reversed, evoking hiatus as cosmic arc. They circled like pilgrims, fingers tracing, tighter drop, river-breaking banks. Namjoon measured, looser rise, bodies breathe, break. Hoseok arced, energy live without spark. Immersion began with breath calibration, eyes closed to mirrors multiplicity, palms anchoring auroras. Taehyung felt resonance first, vibration sinking inhales to frequency, presences pervasive, exhalations reweaving fraternity. Hoseok's cue dropped guillotine-like, click track at 120 BPM launching orbit, diagonals carving oak quadrants, Arms interlocking triads elevating photos tangle to elegy. Stage left, Taehyung solo midway. Spiraling descent in 3 counts, knees origami under gravity. Ascent laced with flourishes. Wrist jazz ripple, head tilting for spotlight. Mirrors fracturing to divergent destinies. Skirmishes surfaced. Jungkook's torque ascuing pivot, resets rippling. Yoongi's sidestep masking hitch, Jin's flourish whooping approval. Taehyung's eddy. A freeze in helix salutes clashing fluidity. Channeled to depth. Deeper crouch, sharper snap, burn to ballast. Midway halt. Tablet replays freezing near misses. Laughter counterpointing critique. Tae's river and ribs lean in. Hoseok prized, praise refracting effort. Taehyung nodded, voltage surging sinews. Noon carts intruded, bibimbap steaming, banchan color studies. Cross-legged echoes of photo, chopsticks clacking. Talk cascaded. Namjoon's quantum entanglement metaphor. Yoongi's earbud retort. Jimin's Vancouver lightstick tale. Taehyung savored Jigi's burn, confessing. Photos mid-breath freeze. Work feels witnessed. Jean leaned, Mandu paused. Worshipped. Keeps ghosts bay. Crate's table beat of mastication, admission aftertaste, toasted tenacity's tether. Afternoon ebbed exploratory. Taehyung shadowing Jungkook's drills, duet of velvet razor and mirrors, booth rotations, baritone braiding Jimin's tenor, testing track's strength. Dusk gradients, frosted windows, session winding cue-free, propulsion to catharsis, bodies blurring silhouette against sodium. Hoseok's benediction echoed claps, collapses, embraces. Namjoon's hug murmuring map now. Ceiling deposit, evening filtered corridors echo to Han hush. Taehyung vending soda fizzing effervescence. Feeds bloomed. Photo progeny proliferating arts. Theories gratitude. Soul students pierce. Sprawls mid-rehearsal turn page. Pocketed he stepped chill, snow staff swirling. Lights ledger of luminescence. Week wove warp weft session straighta. Monday's motifs migrating. Wednesday's weights ballast building. Interludes intimate. Jin's faux operatics clashing Yoongi's growls. Hoseok's ciphers hoop sacraments. Taehyung etched. Solos symphonic, jazz title and trap. Mirrors mastery monuments. Frictions fizzled. Meanders meeting precision verse veined. Pivot fatigue mended massage mirth. Solstice eve silvered spires lunar. Studio sanctum. Tracks translucence, choreo quintessence, synergy sonata. Circle oak, thermos's photo echo, toast thresholds. Jungkook's sprawl start. Click candid, Hoseok's surge seals. Grin gateway. Taehyung apex fulcrum. Not ignition corona but rigor revelation, labor lighthouse lancing haze. Broader becoming bay. Machinations multitudes. Fans fortresses footage fire, industries innovation, K-pop kinder cadence. Taehyung snow streets threading glimpsed busker ballad bridge lights. Endeavor echo rippling. Bands bespoke beckoning boundless. Etching endless ellipse ether art.